Hi guys, my name's Seb Tudor. I'm the man on the Silver Mountain, and welcome back. I've just had my lunch and finished watching the presidential debate from last night, the third one, and it was really interesting. It was possibly the most entertaining of the three, and it's like it's fascinating. It's like these are the two people in one of the most loud and noisy and public kind of leadership races on the planet, and and it kind of all boiled down to this, because I feel like the debate last night was a good kind of condensing of all of the elements that have kind of run up to this point in regards to either leadership race. And yes, it's been a very dodgy one in many regards. But the things that stood out to me last night, or rather now about last night, were quite substantial, and it's a case of kind of let's break this down from the beginning. So they both walk out, and I can't help but feel that lots of people have been commenting about the way that Hillary Clinton was dressed, but I can't help but feel that just the way she walked out was very calm, very relaxed to begin with. That was one of the first things that jumped out at me. She looked healthy, in spite of what certain people have been saying, and she was a rather relaxed, kind of happy almost individual when she got behind her podium. Personally, I felt she looked like she walked straight out of some kind of dystopian fiction. Um, the evil overlord from that will rule the corporations over the world. I don't know, but other people were saying Star Trek, so it could take from that what you will. But to me, I was thinking, yeah, okay, so that's America's dystopian future walking in right there. But then you had Donald Trump, and he never looks comfortable. He always looks like he's either constipated or got a pole shoved up his ass. And is it just me, or is it like when he walked out? I mean, I'll say this: he looked less orange than he usually does. Good work to his makeup crew or whoever it was in the background that managed to make him look less orange. Good job. But is it just me, or does he look like the villain from a kind of 1980s to 1990s kind of action flick? Probably starring Bruce Willis or Arnold Schwarzenegger. If it wasn't Alan Rickman in Die Hard, then it may as well have been him. Is that just me? Let me know down in the comments. But moving on, then the funny stuff started, and it was like, okay, so their performances are obviously different, because Hillary was doing a lot more counterattacks rather than actually trying to interrupt or kind of break away from the questions she had been asked, whilst Trump was being so rude and just throwing out stuff when it just, the number of times he just went wrong. It's like, please, are you 5? You were saying that you're probably 5. I mean, you're close to 70, but why not? But it kind of became a case of her, I felt anyway, from what I was watching, as someone who, by the way, has an interest in this stuff, sure, but who doesn't like either candidate, because I'm not. Hillary is very kind of shaky. When you meet someone and they're really nice, and you can kind of go, okay, they seem like a nice person, but there's just that something about them, yeah? Like, when you meet someone and you go, wow, that person is slimy, but, like, not as much. You can just, it's as if they're kind of stood at a slightly odd angle, and you just have to turn to look at them, yeah? But then when you look at them properly, they just seem weird. That's kind of the way that I perceive Hillary Clinton. There's just something not quite, not kind of uncanny valley, but on a more wider perceptive level, I guess. But then you look at Trump, And it's a case of he doesn't have the stuff to bring to the table to enter that discourse. He doesn't have the information, the concise way of approaching things, or the respect for anybody around him, as evidenced by some of his comments. It's like I don't understand how that was going. I mean, I would love to see the people out back from Donald Trump's inner circle, and like how many of them were going, "Oh, Donald, please shut your mouth. Please don't say anymore. Just give up. Just be polite and let her say why are you do Donald, why?" And then I want to know how many people were going, "Yeah, Donald, you tell her. Tell that to you just yeah, she's wrong. You keep doesn't matter if she's got all of these points. Doesn't matter. You told her she was wrong. You go, Donald." I want to see that split, because if all of them are doing one thing and he's ignored his entire team, then because I would imagine that whilst Hillary was able to present the stuff well, I would imagine that she's had some kind of coaching on as the debates have gone on. She's had someone do the research for her. She's had someone put together the talking points. She's had someone put together possibly her outfit and everything else. Yeah? Donald Trump has probably had none of that, and when people have come to him to talk to him about things, he's not listened, or he's not understood, and as a result has dismissed the information. And yeah, it's a really kind of convoluted mess when it comes to then actually looking at what they were saying, because Hillary was coming out with a lot of straightforward things. And especially considering I've been talking about leadership, and I've in the past talked about what makes a strong person and things like that, which obviously as being the leader of a country, you are going to, even though you may very well be demonstrating doing the whole power of vulnerability thing to a degree, you also need to show that you can bear the weight of an entire country, its entire populace, every single entity within that environment, the economy, all of that. You need to have it on your shoulders. And you only need to look at Obama and how old he looks now. It takes a toll. But this is the thing. Looking at the two of them, let's break them down. Let's go Trump first, because I talked about Hillary first a fair amount already, just for balance. But okay, so is Trump a strong enough person to do the job? In theory, well, a lot of what he was doing. He's not resilient, because if he was resilient, he would be able to control himself and just keep himself stumm. Yeah? But he had to snap back. He had to do the thing. He couldn't just weather it and just go, whatever. He had to have his words back. He had to tell her she was wrong. He had to tell her she was a puppet. He had to do all of those things. As soon as it happened, as soon as it came out of his mouth, that was the thing that had to occur. No two ways about it. It was, she said a thing, he didn't like it, he had to say. And that doesn't demonstrate resilience. That doesn't demonstrate the kind of solid marble-esque quality that you would hope from a leader, to bear weight and to kind of shrug off adversity. But then let's take a look at some of the other two R's that I've got in my little trinity here. So reason. Well, most of the things that he said are either so vague as to be pointless. At one point he was talking about Obama deporting people, and whilst I have a feeling he was trying to get across the point of, well, if he's doing it, then why can't I? Because that seems to be part of his whole spiel a lot of the time. But the way that he said it, the way that he put it out as a sentence, was very vague, very, very ambiguous. And it was a case of kind of going, whilst I'm fairly certain this is what he's saying, you've got him going, well, Obama deported people, Obama equals Hillary, that's bad. Okay, but then you want to deport people. Yeah, but if he's done it, then I should be able to do it. okay, so what are you arguing for? Because you've spat out Obama's name as if it's something, a bad taste in your mouth, but you've got, but you're arguing for the same thing that he's done, just on a larger scale. Please be specific. But he doesn't do that. He just talks out of his arse, and as a result, reason, logic, sensible points, and things like that. He doesn't seem to make them, and if he does try to, he doesn't make them very well. And so, you know, that's another one gone, because you need to be able to deal with reality as a strong person, and especially as a leader. And then moving on to responsibility, the last R in the Trinity that I've put forward in other videos. When he actually, to a degree, agrees with Hillary when she's pointing out that he suggests that every time he's not doing well, because he's a spoilt brat, every time he's not doing well, it's not his fault. The system is rigged against him. And he even stood there looking so fucking smug and agreed with her in part about his fucking TV show that no one gives a shit about anymore. And it's like, oh, why? Just... But as a result, that's that's a demonstration of his complete lack of responsibility. Because it's always someone else's fault. And so he fails the whole the whole thing that I've put forward before from previous discussions and things in regards to being a strong person. So now, okay, so looking at him as a leader. So is he decisive? Well, yeah, he says what, to a degree, he says whatever comes out of his mouth first. Yeah? But, so he makes decisions quickly and says what he wants quickly. Okay, fair enough. We'll give him that. We won't necessarily... We're not... Because that's just the making of the decision. That's the finding a goal and heading towards it. Granted, he will then potentially change his goal and flip-flop on things, but we'll give him decisive. Decisive is fine. He makes decisions very quickly. Possibly his mouth makes them before his brain is caught up, but he makes them. Adaptable. No, he's not adaptable. He always goes back to the same things. He can't counter the same way that Hillary did. He can't... I suppose you could say that he's adaptable in regards to the fact that he flip-flops on things. But is that being adaptable? Or to allow him... Well, I suppose that could be... Okay, we'll give him a half one for that. Because he's not adaptable within an environment that requires him to adapt on the fly. But he will adapt from situation to situation in the grand scheme. So we'll give him half a point for that. So, okay. So out of a potential 8 points, he's got 1.5. Okay. So far. Again, though, although resilience actually comes up twice. So out of 7 points, sorry. So he's not done very well on those. And then, you know, communication. Well, he communicates a lot, but he doesn't do it very well. As said with the ambiguous statement, the ambiguous vague statement. So he loses that one. Does he lead by example? No, because he would want people to pay their taxes to fund his government. But he doesn't, so he's not leading by example. Yeah, and so okay, so we've got 1.5 out of 7. That's not a good record. Okay, so now let's take a look at Hillary here. So responsible. Well, she's to a degree taken responsibility for things. You know, she makes a point of saying, I did vote for the Iraq War and I did make, you know, it was a mistake. But then also some of the stuff that she's said, oh, pardon me, and done where she's kind of said, yes, I did this thing, but that wasn't a bad thing when it obviously was. I mean, I suppose she's taking responsibility for the actual action. Okay, so we'll give her responsibility. Reason. All of the stuff that she was throwing out to one extent or another, especially if you go and have a quick look on kind of PolitiFact and fact-checking sites, as I did a little earlier, most of the stuff that she says is accurate or truthful to one degree or another, whilst Trump, rather unsurprisingly, is the other way around. So you can assume that there's a logic to what she's saying, there's a reality to it to one degree or another. And so, yeah, okay, we'll give her that. So that's 2 so far. Resilient. Well, she's had a lot of shit flung at her recently. that's both her stuff and stuff from her husband, which, to be fair, she's not really accountable for some of his stuff. There are a couple of situations where it's a bit more grey and uncertain, but she's weathered it well. She didn't feel need to come back against Donald on every single little shitty comment he made. And so, yeah, okay, I'll give her resilience, just simply because she seems to weather it and let it run off. And that's fine. That's kind of what you want, to a degree. So she's got the 3 that we've got from making her a strong person. Yeah, whether that's because she's been trained to say these things and deal with them in that way, or whether it's a natural capacity, who knows? But we'll give her that. Okay, so adaptable. Well, she was able to, at times, incorporate what Donald's shitty comments, or some of the things that Donald was saying, into what she was saying to make a comeback against him. I would say that was adaptable. She has adapted to various roles as she has moved through politics. Yes, she's a career politician. Yes, she's expected to do that, but she has done it, and she's done it well, because she's still managed to get to the higher positions that maybe she wouldn't have got to if she hadn't been as adaptable. And granted, you can say that she was adaptable, or you can say that she was very flexible in so much as she would do as she was told. That's the argument of money and corruption in politics is a slightly different argument here in regards to just weighing up these 2 individuals, I feel, because it's a much larger issue that goes well beyond these 2 people. But okay, so we've got what so far 3? Is it 3? 4? No, 4. Because we've done adaptable. Communicating, she was very good at. She was making concise points. She was doing her spiel was going quite well. Leading by example, she pays her taxes. She's made some shows of trying to lead by the example that people want, but I'll give her a half for that one, because I still don't feel like she's really to the same degree as, say, Bernie Sanders was, where he would literally try and lead by the example that he was in this position. He wanted to be everyone else to be in a similar position, and that's the way that he was trying to lead his campaign. So I'll give her a half for leading by example. And then decisive. Well, she's obviously made decisions hastily at times, and her judgment has maybe not been good in certain places, but she has outlined things effectively and had people action them. And so I'll give her that one as well, because yes, I don't necessarily agree that that some of her decisions have been well thought out or best thought out, but she has generated a course of action and then gone with it and held with it until such time as it's caused a problem. So I'll give her that, because in the grand scheme of things, when she's in power, if she's in power, as it seems likely to be fair from the polls, then if she's got a team of people around her that she's willing to listen to, that she's willing to arrange things with, then when they put stuff across to her, one can only hope that she would take advice and ideas and plans from those people and decide on them and action them relative to what all of the other information and the moving pieces that she's presented with. It seems like she has tried to do that up till this point with mixed success, but the actual setting out a plan, putting a goal out there and heading towards it, that's something she's done. So just on points of good leader and strong person, you've got those 2, and Hillary wins out on points, as you can see during the debate, I feel. But then there's one extra thing, and that is the power of vulnerability, which I brought up before. I did a whole video on it, and it's the way to get people to empathize with you to one degree or another. And Hillary does a great job of using this, because she admits to an old mistake. It isn't even one of the most recent mistakes. But she outright admits in front of everyone that she's made a mistake. It doesn't really matter what mistake. She's demonstrating that she's human. She's demonstrating that she's not infallible. And as a result of that, when Trump goes, no, I'll do the best, I'll always be the best, he's removing himself. He's not showing vulnerability. He's always got to be the best. He's always got to be the person in charge, and he always has to talk up. He's not got the maturity to go, actually, do you know what? I was wrong. I made mistakes. They did X, Y, and Z. The only time he's really apologized was when he got caught so badly that it was the excuse that it gave certain people, or rather, it was the excuse certain people have been looking for to jump off the Donald Trump sinking ship. And, you know, as a result, he made his apology to try and stop that from happening. And yet it's still like, in the debate, he goes, I respect women more than anyone, and yet then he makes the scathing comment about how she's a nasty woman at the end. And it's like, were you even in the same debate that I was watching like before, where that excellent question at the end, well done to that man who came out with the excellent question at the end, going, please say something nice about one another. And he actually pointed out, she gave a very sideways answer where it was like, I don't respect him, but his kids are alright. You know, that to me felt very, okay, fair enough, I'll give you that one, but you could have done better. He actually came out with the only classy thing I think he said during his entire campaign run, where he actually complimented her on some traits that she actually has. And yet then he comes back in and back there he was like, I respect those traits. Those are good traits to have. This one, she's doing exactly the same thing and he doesn't like it because he's losing out, and he turns around and he goes, I got no respect for this woman, she's a horrible, nasty woman. It's like, this isn't this shouldn't be a personal fight. But it's become more and more of one, and one of the people that's been dragging it in that direction has been Donald Trump, because he doesn't know how to do anything else. But it was funny, it was cringeworthy in places, and I hope, you know, from the polls, it's going to be really interesting to see what actually happens at the beginning of November, and maybe I'll do another bonus video at the time to just having a chat about what happens there. But you know, it's very interesting to watch over lunch, and I'd love to know what you guys think. You know, like in regards to leaders at the moment, we've had some real crazy ones pop up. I mean, even in the UK, I'm no fan of Theresa May by any extent, and it's just kind of like all of these crazy leaders popping up out of nowhere, saying bizarre things and doing things and making a mess. You know, what are your thoughts on all of this, especially in regards to America, considering its high profile, or the highest profile probably? You know, is it the fact that just because he's entertaining, people should elect him, people want to elect him because he's anti-establishment and so on and so forth? Could we see Hillary coming back in, and maybe with people like Bernie Sanders and the movement that ran with him in the background, we could see some progress and some advancements made in regards to the general good in the States? I don't know. This stuff is all fascinating to me, and I'd love to hear what people think. But yeah. Otherwise, you know, tell me what you think here or in any of the places that are down in the links in the description below. Otherwise, you know, if you found this at all interesting and you'd like to hear more as and when stuff happens, and I might end up doing more bonus videos, or I might do just a proper couple of videos on it. You know, drop me a like, and then subscribe so that you can see them when they turn up. But otherwise, I hope you guys are all having a great day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!